Wakanda Forever is out, and one thing's for sure, that Chadwick Boseman is missed and he is honored, I think in a great way. So anyway, let's review Wakanda Forever. Wakanda Forever stars Letitia Wright, Lupita Nyong'o, Angela Bassett, Tenoch Huerta, and is directed by Ryan Coogler. What's up, guys? I literally just walked out of Wakanda Forever, the new Black Panther movie, and it's bittersweet because, of course, we all lost Chadwick Boseman. Was that last year? I think it was 2021, maybe 2020 when we lost. I think it was 2021, but I'm still processing this movie, okay? And I can tell you right now that it's not a perfect movie, but I think the big thing here is that it definitely honors Chadwick Boseman, okay? I'm just going to say, I'm going to talk about some plot points in this movie that some of you might not want to know. You know, it all depends on what you consider a spoiler or not. As far as like who Black Panther is in this movie, or if he's in this movie, will you be shocked? I'll just go with that, okay? So from here on out, if you don't want to really know anything, then you might want to just, you know, leave, okay? But I can tell you that I give it a thumbs up for sure. But anyway, first off, let's give you a quick plot synopsis. The beginning of this movie starts off really somber, even like the opening credits, which are beautiful, by the way. You know, usually they show all the different Marvel characters. Well, in the opening credits, they just show T'Challa. And I tell you, I almost welled up. Not a voice could be heard in the theater. It was really nice. But then the movie starts off really somber too, because, you know, we know that Black Panther's not here because, obviously, of Chadwick Boseman's death, and that's how they start off the movie. But luckily, they fast forward a year, so that way, yeah, they're still mourning, but, you know, after a year passes, they can kind of try to get on with their lives. This, like, underwater city of Talakan, led by Namor, they're able to break into Wakanda, and, you know, the people of Wakanda are like, how in that, you know, we have like an unpenetrable fortress. How in the hell did you get through here? And they pretty much use the Wakandans as scapegoats for this interception on this ship. And so it's a pretty straightforward plot. You got some politics going on in Wakanda because obviously there's no Black Panther. They've never operated like this before. You know, this has been a year and they haven't had a protector, and then here comes this Namor inflicting all kinds of damage. And so there's some interesting dynamics to work with there. Let me go ahead and get into the pros and the cons of this movie, because I don't think this movie's perfect. I think you could go round and round with asking yourself, should they have recast T'Challa, or is the way that they did it in this movie sufficient? And I think, depending on who you ask, you know, it could go either way. I think it's fine the way that they went. I have no problem with Shuri taking on the mantle. I think she's fantastic, actually, in the role. I think by the time she does take it, you really feel for her. But the problem is, this movie depends on other characters outside of Black Panther for, you know, a good 2 hours. And luckily there are some fun, like, action set pieces. I think this movie rests on Namor for the most part. Thank God you had a really effective villain in this movie. I'll just say that, because if you didn't, then I think it'd be a lost cause. But Namor is so effective as a villain, and really just, you know, the people of Talakan. You know, there's a street fight, you know, the character McCoy, she's having to take on the Talakans by herself, and she's getting her ass kicked big time. And I think that might be like my favorite fight scene of the whole movie. I think Letitia Wright is fantastic in the role. For the most part, she has to carry it. Eventually, she does become Black Panther. Very satisfied with her portrayal of Black Panther, actually. Angela Bassett does not age whatsoever, and she's definitely the best actor in this movie. That woman can act. I mean, she is, like, all the acting is good in this movie, but man, she is just at another level. But this guy who played Namor, Tenoch Huerta, this is just one of those actors, like, he never really raises his voice, but he's just menacing and very effective. And some cool action scenes with him too, you know, because he's got these like freaking wings on his feet, and so he can like fly in the air. Very strong, very foreboding, but you just can't take your eyes off the guy. You know, there's like one scene where he's like staring into the eyes of one of the other characters, and it kind of sends a chill down your spine. He's that effective. Now, I guess kind of switching gears here, the idea of recasting T'Challa. Do you remember the show Spartacus? There was an actor, Andy Whitfield, who died of cancer, and he played Spartacus. You know, they realized we have to carry on this show because, you know, they had more seasons that they wanted to do. And so they ended up doing like a prequel season, and then they went forward. But they recast Spartacus, and that's what Andy Whitfield wanted. He said, I would love for my character to carry on. If in the story Spartacus had actually died because Andy Whitfield died, then like, where do you go from there? And Spartacus is a pretty big character. I think if they would have done that in this role, I don't think it would have been offensive whatsoever. If anything, I think it still would have honored Chadwick Boseman. And then you're kind of paving the way for more T'Challa and Black Panther down the road. And I'm not against Shuri becoming Black Panther. I just think maybe it should have happened much earlier in the movie. So that's kind of my issue with the movie. But the movie does have some greatness there. And I got to mention the score by Ludwig Göransson, who's a big name these days in terms of composition. He's scored a few other movies in the past. I'd say this is the best MCU score I've heard in ages, because the scores of these movies, these MCU movies, can be quite generic, quite often. But this sounded different than a lot of the other movies. You know, of course, you had that tribal feel because of the people of Wakanda, but then there were some really moody tracks in here too. It was just very fitting, very emotional, given the death of Chadwick Boseman. And you know, it fit the overall tone of the movie. Ryan Coogler's direction is fantastic. You know, he is one of those top tier directors working today, for sure. And you can see his footprint all over this movie. Biggest issue I have with it, though, is that it is 2 hours and 45 minutes long. And if you're gonna be that long, then you need to pack it full of great stuff. And there is great stuff in this movie, but I think the problem is, will I watch this movie again, given the length of time? Maybe not. And none of the action set pieces are, you know, jaw-dropping. And if I'm kind of all over the place with my feelings on this movie, it's because I am. It's a lot to take in, especially when you just get out of the theater. I just finished watching this movie, and it's a lot to process. I was even getting vibes of like Fast 7 with how they handled Paul Walker at the end of that movie, and you had that nice tender moment, and that's in here. If anything, it does honor Chadwick Boseman in a beautiful way. I have to give it that. And it's a good MCU movie, you know, and Phase 4 has had some pretty lackluster stuff. So it's definitely not the worst MCU movie. I'd probably put it like in the middle of the whole thing, if I'm being honest. You know, there's some greatness in this movie. And I think, if anything, it really taps into emotion quite well. You will get emotional watching this, okay? But you will leave exhausted, and you might question whether you'll ever watch it again. And I'm just being honest. So for that, I'm definitely going to give it like a high humdrum. Maybe a low purchase worthy, but right now I guess I'll go a high humdrum. That's how I'm feeling. And it's a shame because Namor is such a badass villain. Like, I loved that character. So anyway, that's my very discombobulated review of Wakanda Forever. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free for Fridays. Follow me, Drumdums, on all my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Drumdum out.